In the world of celebrity, the pressure to conform is immense. The fear of career backlash, loss of public support, and the personal toll of hiding one's true identity have led many black celebrities to keep their same-sex relationships private, even after their deaths. Many iconic figures, in particular, feared the impact revealing their true selves could have on their careers and personal lives. Here's a look at 20 black celebrities who live their lives in the shadow of secrecy, afraid to reveal their same-sex relationships. 1. Josephine Baker, The Private Revolution. Josephine Baker, born in 1906 in St. Louis, Missouri. Louis, Missouri was an extraordinary figure who broke barriers in both her professional and personal life. She rose to fame in the 1920s in Paris, where she became a star for her exotic dancing and bold performances. Known for her flamboyance and unique style, Baker revolutionized the entertainment world by showcasing her black identity in a way that challenged prevailing racial stereotypes. Her iconic performance in La Revue Negre and her famous banana skirt dance made her a sensation across Europe. Baker's personal life, however, was not as publicly celebrated. Throughout her career, rumors swirled about her sexuality, particularly her relationships with women. Although she was known to have had an affair with Mexican artist Frida Kahlo, the two never publicly acknowledged it. At a time when openly acknowledging bisexuality could have led to professional ruin, especially for a black woman, Baker chose to maintain a sense of privacy regarding her relationships. Her bisexuality, while never openly declared, was an integral part of who she was, and her legacy remains that of both a pioneering artist and a civil rights activist. 2. Richard Pryor, The Comedy of Truth. Richard Pryor, born in 1940 in Peoria, Illinois, was one of the most influential and groundbreaking comedians of his time. His unflinching honesty about race, addiction, and personal struggles made him a cultural force. Pryor's comedic genius allowed him to blend humor with vulnerability, tackling taboo subjects in ways that had never been done before. His unfiltered style, often weaving in themes of racial tension and social inequality, earned him a loyal following. While Pryor was married to women 5 times, his bisexuality was a subject of intrigue for many. Throughout his career, he made several hints about his sexuality, though he never openly acknowledged it. It wasn't until after his death that Pryor's sexuality was confirmed in a 2018 interview with music legend Quincy Jones, who revealed that he had a sexual encounter with Pryor. Pryor's widow later confirmed this revelation, and Pryor's personal journals also alluded to his bisexuality. In many ways, Pryor's hesitance to publicly come out could be attributed to the societal pressures of his time. In an era where LGBTQ+ individuals, particularly black men, faced intense scrutiny, Pryor made the decision to keep his sexuality private, possibly out of fear of damaging his career. 3. Sylvester, the Queen of Disco. Sylvester, born in 1947 in Los Angeles, was a trailblazer in both the music industry and the LGBTQ+ rights movement. Known for his distinct falsetto voice and flamboyant stage presence, he became an icon of the 1970s disco era. His hit single, You Make Me Feel Mighty Real, became an anthem of self-expression and LGBTQ+ pride. Sylvester's music transcended genres, blending elements of soul, pop, and gospel, and resonated deeply within the LGBTQ+ community, particularly in San Francisco's vibrant queer culture. Though Sylvester was open about his queerness in his music and performances, his personal relationships were less public. He was known to have had multiple relationships with men, but he rarely spoke about them openly. Despite the more progressive atmosphere within the LGBTQ+ counterculture, Sylvester chose to maintain some level of privacy regarding his personal life. His influence on the LGBTQ+ community, however, cannot be overstated. Sylvester's music continues to serve as a symbol of liberation and empowerment, particularly for those within the queer black community. He passed away in 1988 due to AIDS-related complications, but his legacy endures in both music and LGBTQ+ rights. 4. Luther Vandross, The Hidden Voice. Luther Vandross, born in 1951 in New York City, was a vocal legend whose smooth ballads and rich voice made him one of the most beloved R&B artists of his time. With hits like Never Too Much and A House Is Not a Home, Vandross captivated millions with his timeless sound and romantic lyrics. Yet despite his commercial success, his personal life remained a mystery to the public, particularly when it came to his sexuality. Vandross never publicly discussed his sexual orientation, and rumors about his private life circulated for years. He was never seen with a partner, leading many to speculate about his sexuality. Close friends later revealed that Vandross was gay, but he chose not to come out, fearing it would damage his commercial appeal, particularly among his predominantly female fan base. Vandross's reticence can be seen as a reflection of the homophobia and societal expectations that were prevalent in the entertainment industry, especially during the height of his career in the 1980s and 1990s. Vandross passed away in 2005, but his contributions to music and his legacy as one of the greatest vocalists of his generation remain intact. 5. James Baldwin, the revolutionary writer. James Baldwin, born in 1924 in Harlem, was a writer and intellectual who revolutionized the way Black identity and sexuality were portrayed in literature. His works, including Giovanni's Room, 1956, explored themes of same-sex love and the complexities of personal identity in a society that often criminalized such experiences. Baldwin's ability to articulate the struggles of being both Black and gay in a world dominated by racism and homophobia made him one of the most important writers of the 20th century. Baldwin's personal life was as complex as his writing. While he was open about his sexuality in his works, he did not make grand statements about his private life. Instead, he often lived abroad in Paris, away from the racism and homophobia he faced in the United States. Baldwin's decision to keep his personal life largely private was in part due to the social climate of his time, where openly gay Black men faced ostracism. Baldwin passed away in 1987, but his work continues to inspire countless individuals, particularly those grappling with issues of race, sexuality, and identity. 6. Paul Winfield. Paul Winfield, a respected and talented actor, became a Hollywood legend with an Academy Award nomination for his role in the 1972 film Sounder. Despite his recognition as a versatile actor in both film and television, Winfield was known for being intensely private about his personal life. Born in 1939, he earned a reputation for his strong, dignified performances, and his career spanned several decades, notably in the 1970s and 1980s with roles in The Terminator, 1984, To Be Young, Gifted, and Black, 1972, and The Glass Menagerie, 1973. Winfield's acting career earned him respect and admiration from his peers, but what remained largely hidden from the public eye was his sexual orientation. Though he never publicly declared his sexuality, it was known within his close circle of friends and colleagues that Winfield was gay. His most significant and long-term relationship was with architect Charles Gillian Jr., which, like many aspects of his life, remained largely private. Their partnership was kept out of the public eye, and Winfield's personal life was something he carefully shielded from the media spotlight. In an era when LGBTQ+ identities were often hidden or misunderstood, Winfield's discretion about his sexuality mirrored the struggles many public figures faced in navigating personal identity and professional image. Winfield's death in 2004 from a heart attack left behind a legacy of groundbreaking performances, but it also highlighted how many figures in Hollywood chose to keep their same-sex relationships under wraps. His quiet determination to live his truth while maintaining a public career that was marked by excellence is a testament to his strength and dedication. 7. Nell Carter. Nell Carter, born in 1948, rose to fame with her role as the sassy, larger-than-life housekeeper, Nell Harper, on the 1980s sitcom Gimme a Break, which garnered her critical acclaim and a Golden Globe Award. However, much like Paul Winfield, Carter's personal life was kept largely private during her lifetime. She was adored by audiences for her comedic timing and powerful voice, but behind the scenes, Carter's life was more complicated. In 2003, she passed away from complications related to diabetes and heart disease, and it was only after her death that her long-term relationship with Ann Casper, a woman she had been with for many years, came to light. This revelation was shocking to some, as Carter had never publicly discussed her sexuality during her lifetime. For many years, Carter's relationship with Casper was a deeply guarded secret. Their love, however, was something those closest to Carter knew about, even as it remained hidden from the public's gaze. Carter's choice to keep her romantic life private may have been influenced by the cultural climate of the time, where being openly gay, especially for an African-American woman in Hollywood, was a rarity. Nell Carter's story serves as a poignant reminder of the complexities many LGBTQ+ individuals faced in an industry that often demanded silence and conformity. Her legacy, however, remains one of joy, laughter, and musical talent, with a side of resilience in protecting the sanctity of her love. 8. Truman Capote. Truman Capote, one of the most renowned American writers of the 20th century, was known for his flamboyant personality, sharp wit, and brilliant works such as Breakfast at Tiffany's, 1958, and In Cold Blood, 1966. Capote's sexuality was not a secret in high society circles. He was openly gay, and in the context of his flamboyant persona, his sexuality was often discussed openly. Despite his candidness about his orientation, Capote's relationships with women, particularly his notable and close relationship with socialite Babe Paley, were often discussed in the media as much as his interactions with men. This speaks to the complexity of his personal life, where his sexual identity wasn't always a central factor in his most publicized relationships. Capote's openness about his sexuality, especially during a time when homosexuality was often stigmatized, was somewhat groundbreaking. However, his battles with substance abuse, personal demons, and his complicated relationships with people such as Paley were overshadowed by his colorful personality and dramatic lifestyle. His later years were marred by scandal and a declining literary career, and he passed away in 1984 at the age of 59. Though Capote's life was marked by fame, success, and personal turmoil, his willingness to be open about his sexuality broke ground for future generations of LGBT+ artists. His story reminds us of the complexities of identity, relationships, and the balance between public persona and private truth. 9. Sherman Hemsley. Sherman Hemsley, known best for his role as the brash, opinionated George Jefferson on the popular sitcom The Jeffersons, was one of the most beloved African-American actors in television history. Hemsley's portrayal of George Jefferson, an unapologetically outspoken businessman, was groundbreaking at the time and earned him widespread recognition. However, unlike his character, Hemsley himself was a far more reserved and private person. Throughout his career, rumors regarding his sexuality swirled, but he never publicly addressed them, preferring to keep his personal life private. It wasn't until after Hemsley's death in 2012 that close friends revealed he had been gay. This revelation was surprising to many, as Hemsley had never come out publicly during his lifetime. Hemsley's story illustrates the challenges faced by many African-American gay men in Hollywood, especially in the 1970s and 1980s, when racial and sexual identities were often seen as conflicting. His decision to keep his sexuality private was likely shaped by both racial and societal pressures, underscoring how complex the experience of being an LGBTQ+ person of color in Hollywood can be. Sherman Hemsley's legacy remains that of a television icon, but his posthumous revelation about his sexuality adds another layer to his legacy, one that speaks to the quiet courage of many LGBTQ+ people who lived out their truths in silence. 10. Billy Strayhorn. Billy Strayhorn, born in 1915, was a jazz composer and pianist whose contributions to music, particularly through his collaborations with Duke Ellington, were transformative. Strayhorn's compositions, such as Lush Life and Take the A-Train, are iconic in the jazz world. He was an openly gay man in an era when such a revelation could risk his professional success. Strayhorn, however, navigated the challenges of being openly gay in the jazz community, which, unlike Hollywood, was more accepting of LGBTQ+ individuals. His relationships with men were well known within the jazz community, even though Strayhorn himself often kept a low public profile. Strayhorn's quiet yet powerful contributions to jazz music were a vital part of Ellington's legacy, and his own musical genius has inspired generations of musicians. Despite his struggles with both his sexuality and the challenges of working in an industry that often downplayed or ignored the talents of openly gay individuals, Strayhorn's music endures. His death in 1967 did not diminish his influence, and today, his compositions are revered by jazz lovers worldwide. Billy Strayhorn's life reminds us that even in creative industries, being open about one's identity often required navigating an intricate balance between personal freedom and professional success. His success in this regard has had a lasting impact on the music world and remains a testament to his talent and resilience. On Beer, Whitney Houston. Whitney Houston wasn't just a star. She was an icon, a musical powerhouse, and a face that graced magazines, billboards, and screens for decades. Known for her angelic voice and stunning beauty, Whitney defined pop music for an entire generation. Her list of accomplishments is staggering, with more than 200 million records sold, 6 Grammy Awards, and an indelible mark on the music industry. Her soaring vocals on hits like I Will Always Love You and Greatest Love of All made her one of the most recognizable voices in the world. In 2023, Rolling Stone ranked her as the second greatest singer of all time, solidifying her place in music history. But behind the bright lights and sold-out arenas, Whitney Houston's life was far more complicated. She struggled with drug addiction for years, a battle that eventually led to her tragic passing in 2012. There was another side to Whitney that was often speculated about, but never fully confirmed until later years: her relationship with her best friend, Robin Crawford. While Whitney was romantically linked to some of the biggest names in the entertainment industry, rumors swirled about her close bond with Crawford. The two met when they were teenagers, and their friendship lasted for decades. In 2019, Crawford revealed in her memoir that their relationship had been more than just friendship in the early days, hinting at a romantic connection that they kept under wraps. For Whitney, who was deeply rooted in her Christian faith and under immense pressure to maintain a certain public image, living openly as a queer woman would have been nearly impossible. Fans often wondered if her struggles with addiction were connected to her inability to live authentically in the public eye. 12th, Octavia Butler. When you think of groundbreaking science fiction, Octavia Butler's name should come to mind. A literary giant in her own right, Butler wasn't just one of the most influential Black writers in the genre, but she was one of the most influential, period. Born in 1947, Butler made a name for herself in a genre that wasn't exactly welcoming to women, let alone Black women. She broke barriers with novels like Kindred and Parable of the Sower, which combined speculative fiction with themes of race, gender, and power. Butler was fiercely private about her personal life, leading to much speculation about her sexuality. While she never publicly identified as part of the LQB+ community, those close to her have suggested that Butler may have been a lesbian. Regardless of her private life, what truly matters is her work. Butler's stories transcended traditional boundaries, allowing readers to explore complex social issues through the lens of science fiction. She passed away in 2006, leaving behind a legacy that continues to inspire generations of writers, particularly women of color, drawn to speculative fiction. 13. Phyllis Hyman. Phyllis Hyman was a singer like no other. Her deep contralto voice had the ability to stir emotions in anyone who heard it, and her soulful performances left lasting impressions. Hits like You Know How to Love Me and Living All Alone became timeless classics, earning her a place in the hearts of R&B and jazz lovers everywhere. But while her music career soared, Hyman faced significant personal struggles behind the scenes. She battled bipolar disorder and depression for much of her life, which led her to self-medicate with alcohol and drugs. Despite her fame, she was always open about her mental health issues, speaking publicly about the emotional turmoil she endured. Tragically, in 1995, Phyllis Hyman took her own life just days before her 46th birthday. Her death left fans devastated, but it also opened up discussions about mental health in the Black community, topics often swept under the rug. After her passing, it was revealed that Hyman had been involved in relationships with both men and women, including a rumored long-term affair with songwriter Tina Clark. Though she never publicly identified as bisexual, those close to her have suggested that her relationships with women were a significant part of her life. 14th, Ma Rainey. When it comes to trailblazing artists, Ma Rainey was a force to be reckoned with. Known as the Mother of the Blues, Rainey was one of the first professional blues singers and one of the earliest African-American artists to record her music. Born in 1886, Ma Rainey's voice was rich, her performances raw and emotional, and her influence on the blues genre undeniable. She toured extensively throughout the South, and her gritty, no-nonsense persona on stage made her a star. But Ma Rainey wasn't just revolutionary for her music. She was also one of the first performers to openly express her attraction to women in her songs. Rainey often sang about love affairs with women, which was incredibly bold for her time. While she was married to a man for much of her life, she didn't shy away from discussing her same-sex relationships, both in her music and her personal life. Rainey's openness about her sexuality made her a trailblazer in more ways than one. Though she passed away in 1939, Ma Rainey's legacy lives on. She paved the way for future generations of LGBTQ+ artists to express themselves authentically, both in their music and in their lives. 15. Bessie Smith. Bessie Smith, affectionately dubbed the Empress of the Blues, was not just a singer, she was a cultural phenomenon. Born in 1894 in Chattanooga, Tennessee, Bessie rose from humble beginnings to become one of the most influential artists in the history of American music. With her powerful, expressive voice, she brought the blues to the forefront of the music scene in the 1920s and 30s, a time when the genre was predominantly male-dominated. Songs like Downhearted Blues and Nobody Knows You, When You're Down and Out became anthems of heartache and resilience, echoing the struggles of many in her audience. Bessie's stage presence was something to behold. She didn't just perform, she commanded the stage with a confidence that made her audience feel every note she sang. But Bessie's life was not without challenges. As a bisexual woman in a society that wasn't quite ready to embrace sexual diversity, she loved openly and lived authentically, often facing the scrutiny of a judgmental public. Her relationships spanned both men and women, and she became a quiet pioneer for LGBTQ+ representation in the arts. Though her life was cut tragically short in a car accident in 1937, Bessie's legacy lives on. She influenced countless artists, from Janis Joplin to Nina Simone, who credit her for paving the way for future generations. 16. Barbara Jordan. Barbara Jordan was more than just a politician. She was a groundbreaking figure in American history. Born in 1936 in Houston, Texas, she faced the harsh realities of segregation and discrimination from a young age. Yet she rose above it all to become the first African-American woman elected to the Texas Senate since Reconstruction, a remarkable feat that showcased her intelligence, tenacity, and unwavering dedication to civil rights. Her tenure in the House of Representatives began in 1972, making her a trailblazer in every sense of the word. Jordan's oratory skills were unmatched, and she became a national icon after her powerful speech during the Watergate hearings in 1974, calling for the impeachment of President Nixon. She had a unique ability to articulate the struggles of the marginalized, making her voice resonate with people from all walks of life. In 1976, she made history again by delivering the keynote address at the Democratic National Convention, a moment that solidified her status as a leading voice in American politics. Beyond her political accomplishments, Barbara Jordan's personal life was equally inspiring. She shared a loving, long-term relationship with her partner, Nancy Earl, for over 30 years. However, this aspect of her life remained largely unacknowledged during her time in office. It wasn't until her passing in 1996 that the true depth of her love and commitment to Earl was revealed in her obituary. Despite battling multiple sclerosis and later leukemia, Jordan continued to advocate for progressive causes, serving as the chair of the U.S. Commission on Immigration Reform until her health declined. Today, Barbara Jordan is remembered as a symbol of strength, resilience, and authenticity. Her contributions to civil rights and politics have left a lasting mark on American society, inspiring countless individuals to fight for equality and justice. 17. Jackie Moms Mabley. Jackie Moms Mabley was a trailblazer in comedy, paving the way for generations of female comedians with her unique blend of humor, heart, and unapologetic honesty. Born in 1894, Mabley rose to fame during a time when the comedy scene was largely male-dominated. With her distinctive style, think bright dresses, a toothless grin, and a knack for delivering punchlines that tackled serious social issues, she captured the hearts of audiences everywhere. Moms made her mark in the vaudeville circuit, where her performances featured sharp commentary on race, gender, and relationships. By the 1960s, she was a regular on popular television shows like The Ed Sullivan Show, where her refreshing brand of humor appealed to viewers across the nation. Behind her comedic facade, Jackie led a vibrant personal life. She was open about her sexual orientation, having relationships with women throughout her life. In an era where being gay was largely taboo, her honesty was both bold and revolutionary. Despite her challenges including racism and sexism in a male-dominated industry, Moms Mabley remained a formidable force in comedy. She continued to perform well into her late 70s, proving that laughter knows no age limits. Mabley passed away in 1975, but her influence can still be felt today. 18. Little Richard. Little Richard was a true rock and roll icon whose flamboyant style and magnetic stage presence changed the face of music forever. Born in 1932 in Macon, Georgia, Richard's career took off in the 1950s with hits like Tutti Frutti and Long Tall Sally. He wasn't just another rock star. He was a pioneer who fused gospel, rhythm and blues, and rock, creating a sound that was unlike anything before. With his dynamic piano playing and exuberant performances, Richard became a sensation, influencing a multitude of artists, including Elvis Presley and Prince. What made Little Richard even more remarkable was his willingness to embrace his sexuality in a conservative era. While he faced struggles with his identity, navigating his relationships with men and women against the backdrop of societal norms, Richard ultimately found his voice both on and off the stage. Though he stepped away from the spotlight for a time to focus on his faith, Little Richard made a triumphant return to music, solidifying his status as one of the genre's most important figures. His influence endures not just in music, but also as a symbol of individuality and self-acceptance. Little Richard passed away in 2020, leaving behind a legacy that reminds us all to embrace our true selves. 19th. Billie Holiday. Billie Holiday, often referred to as Lady Day, was a legendary jazz singer whose heart-wrenching voice and emotional depth transformed the music industry. Born in 1915 in Philadelphia, Billie faced immense hardship from a young age, including poverty and abuse. Yet she found solace in music and began her career in the 1930s, quickly captivating audiences with her unique vocal style and ability to convey deep emotion. Holiday's songs, including Strange Fruit, which particularly addressed the horrors of racism, pushed boundaries and sparked conversations about social justice. Her music was a powerful form of expression, reflecting both her personal struggles and the broader societal issues of her time. While she often sang about heartache and loss, there was also a profound strength in her artistry that resonated with listeners. Throughout her life, Billie Holiday experienced turbulent relationships with both men and women, showcasing her fluidity in love and desire. Although she didn't openly discuss her sexuality, her romantic liaisons hinted at her complex personal life. Despite her immense talent, Billie battled addiction and health issues, ultimately passing away in 1959 at the age of 44. Her legacy, however, is timeless. You're Me. Bayard Rustin. Bayard Rustin was a true unsung hero of the civil rights movement, known for his brilliant organizing skills and profound contributions. Born in 1912, Rustin was the mastermind behind the historic 1963 March on Washington, where Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. delivered his iconic "I Have a Dream" speech. While Rustin was busy fighting for equality, he also kept a significant part of his identity under wraps: his sexuality. Rustin was openly gay at a time when it was far from accepted, and he understood the risks that came with it. Despite facing discrimination, he remained a pivotal figure in activism. His intelligence, strategic mind, and ability to unite people made him invaluable. However, due to societal prejudices, he often had to step back into the shadows, allowing others like King to take the spotlight. Rustin's contributions weren't just limited to civil rights. He was also a passionate advocate for social justice, labor rights, and anti-war efforts. Sadly, much of his story remained obscured during his lifetime, and it wasn't until after his death in 1987 that many began to recognize the full extent of his impact. Today, Bayard Rustin is celebrated as a trailblazer for both civil rights and LGBTQ+ visibility. His life reminds us that true bravery comes not only from fighting for the rights of others, but also from embracing one's own identity. Rustin's legacy continues to inspire new generations of activists, proving that every voice counts in the struggle for justice.